Undertale? Is Undertale still cool? It must be, because it just got a snazzy PlayStation port. It's because of that I've been wondering how much I'd like the game a second time through. It's still good. Unfortunately, like any good thing that appeals directly to Tumblr, it amassed an insanely self-destructive fanbase. Undertale is only possible because the creator Toby Fox is really clever. Throughout the game, he expertly predicts player behavior. He thought about a lot of stuff that most people wouldn't, but the one thing Toby couldn't predict was his game becoming a massive success. We're talking 8 game theory video success. All the planning in the world couldn't protect the delicate balance Undertale had going. So in short, I'm glad I played this game right after it came out. I didn't go into Undertale trying to outsmart it or figure it out, or with much hype at all. I just heard some neat little things, like how the game lets you make choices and then if you go back and try and change them, the game calls you out. That intrigued me and the game was cheap, so I just bit the bullet and gave it a go. Like many people, I sang in the game's praises and ended up getting probably half a dozen people to play it. The people who played it not long after I did, they enjoyed it, but the people who waited, they hated it. Undertale is the victim of one of the most vicious hype campaigns I've ever seen. See, it's the kind of game that's exactly what you make it. It gives more the more you put in. But with its popularity came the more general expectation that the game would offer some sort of once-in-a-lifetime experience. Think of it like a dance partner. If you go to a dance with a stranger, you'll probably not do great, but you can either go along with their moves or resist them, or you can step on their toes and say they're bad at dancing. When something gets a bad fanbase, it's pretty common for people to just claim that it's awful in order to avoid having to form a complex opinion. And Undertale under that kind of pressure does not hold up. The basic moral of the game puts forward that killing is bad and you should try and be peaceful. The moral falls apart because everyone in the game is trying to kill you. They're the ones instigating a fight, it's self-defense. Doing the same random encounter over and over can get wearing because they have such distinct patterns that it becomes a case of going through the motions after a while. And the game's entire pacing is really lopsided. But if you go with Undertale's flow, as far as I'm concerned, it's up there with the classics. I have to admit, the second experience is dulled. Knowing exactly what's coming, the impact is kinda lost. But despite the fact that I looked up all kinds of alternate stuff in Undertale, I managed to find something new in my playthrough. Something I've never heard of. There's a fight in the third area of the game. The pacifist tactic for beating them involves getting them to confess their love. After the first one shares their feelings, the second one doesn't really respond. So they get embarrassed and make an excuse, saying that they were just kidding. But if before that point you backtrack and befriend Undyne, the boss fight from the previous area, you can talk to her on your cell phone. If you talk to her in a certain area, she says she can't call off her guards because she told them that if she ever said anything like that, it was because a human used their mind control powers on her. If you listen to this conversation before the fight, after the guard confesses, he'll instead claim that you used your mind control powers on him as an excuse. Undertale is full to the brim with detail like that. There's a ton of endings based on who you kill and other actions. The music reuses and remixes themes of characters in really cool ways. People say the gameplay of Undertale is weak, but I think the combat system is excellent. People criticize the difficulty too, but I find it pretty comfy. This is my second playthrough, but I still died a fair few times on the final boss. The idea of enemy attacks being light bullet hell sections is a really clever take on action turn-based combat. The graphics serve the game well too, with the battles making sparse use of color. There's this overarching game concept of determination, a thing that humans, aka the player, have and not the monsters of this world, or NPCs. This manifests in your ability to save and reload your game, and this is used well too. But the connection gets clearer when you find a lab with monsters that were infused with determination. They break the limits of the game, the in-game lore saying they can't handle whatever it is. The same thing happens during the final bosses. The characters use determination to shatter the limits of the game. Ultimately, Undertale is a game that knew exactly what it was. It predicted that the average person would play through the game, kill a few things like a normal RPG, then go back and be a pacifist for the true ending. They also knew that some people would try to max out their love after finding out it wasn't a standard RPG level system, and reach the genocide run, which tried to make you feel bad about what you were doing, but also pitted you against insanely tough bosses, which, fitting the game, takes a lot of determination to actually beat, and makes you feel good when you finally do it. And Undertale knew a lot of people wouldn't actually go through with this, and calls out the people watching it on YouTube or Twitch, just like I did.
You of all people must know how liberating it is to act this way. At least we're better than those sickos that stand around and watch it happen. Those pathetic people that want to see it but are too weak to do it themselves. I bet someone like that's watching right now, aren't they?
And even then, the game knew people wouldn't be satisfied with their corrupt endings either, that they'd edit their files, so Undertale has this invisible subplot about a character named Gaster, which is basically an in-lore exploration of what happens to cut content. I'm sorry, Undertale is clever, but like I said, clever isn't enough against the sheer brute force of a truly awful fanbase. Oh well, a good game is a good game, and Undertale is a good game. I'm glad it exists. I mean, have you heard the music?